What's up, guys?
Yo, what up?
Yeah, man. So I need to take my mind off shit. So let's do like a good UFO space, no bullshit and drama, because I can promise you that shit's in my motherfucking life for real. So yeah, let's retweet this shit. Guys, I don't give a shit what we talk about. Anything. Let's do like old school, like we were just popping off talking about Keel. Hell, fuck, Garrett's in here. Keel, Fork, any of that shit, right? So I just want to talk about UFOs because that's the best part of my life, and my life is currently shit. But I got a retrieval, and I'll talk about that later. So I'll be probably going to somewhere over in Washington, where I'm moving to. So,
how was your week, Shane? Obviously, we haven't talked to you in a little bit. I just got back from vacation.
Dude.
How was everything?
Shit.
Yeah,
so
it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Actually, the only reason, so I ended up having a phone call, and basically I was kind of in a liminal space, going to divorce and a bunch of other shit, right? Trust me.
Right.
So ended up, I talked to a friend, and I'm going to be going not far from here, stay for a bit, deal with that, a couple things, because, man, let me put it to you this way. I don't want to talk much about it, but the harassment I talk about in my threads and my spaces here. So I'm pretty good fucking at one thing. May not be good at re-putting information out, but I'm good at fucking investigating it. And
right
now I know for a fact the who and why, and I got proof, and it fucked me up quite a bit, actually. And and the other reason I don't want to talk about it is, dude, I'm going to need lawyers to talk about this. This shit's bad. So I really don't want to, dude, I'm going to promise you this. This shit's so fucking bad. I don't want to say much more, because it's horrific, my man. I promise you. The reason I don't want to say much more is, well, besides my son, the other reason is, man, this is the kind of thing that, like, I don't see any fucking way around, like, not getting out there for, dude, this is adults doing illegal, stupid shit to fuck with me, and I know why now, and it's actually pretty fucking disgusting. But
so this personally involves you. All right, well,
yeah, dude, it's bad, but let's move on from that. That's where I've been. I've just been kind of, knowing, kind of unthinking something is one thing, but once I got that the proof in my hands, that's when that PTSD hit, that trauma hits, and it kind of hit me a ton of bricks, man. And I promise, I'm gonna bet you money, no fucking doubt, this shit will be out someday in a book or a movie or something, or I don't want to ever talk about it again unless it's a fucking lawyer or a therapist, because this is the most fucked up shit I've never heard of shit like this. So let's move on. Dude, I promise you, bro, and I'm not exaggerating, I've been gone because when you have something that you don't want to tell people, because not only is it bad, it makes you look like a fucking fool type shit, right? These are bad people.
Right.
They're going to pay, but they're going to pay in a way that a lawyer needs to tell me. I don't want to put their names and shit out there. I want this done fucking right. This is bad shit, dude. It's fucked up.
Oh my God.
But anyway, let's move
to the fuck on. Knowing you, man.
Let me put you. Oh, here's one thing I will tell you.
Just stay safe, will you?
Here's how bad it is. One of the dudes was harassing me. CJ, Creepy Jack. I knew who it was. He owns my house. I called the cops on him harassing me. So my family got the boot. That's what I'm dealing with. That type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, it's bad, but let's just move on from this bullshit, right? They'll get it. Like I said,
fair enough, man.
It's all about lawyers and shit like that. I'd rather just deal with that. Let them. When I went to Portland, that's the first thing I did. I was like, what the fuck? So it's the most insane shit. I'm coming home trying to pack. Well, dude, I'm literally trying to pack my family, move them. Then, well, not me myself, but they go somewhere, and then I'm moving somewhere because I'm getting a divorce. It's a mess. So I've been kind of just dipped out, kind of like, in my own head. And then today a friend called, and I'm like, he's like, hey, you want to come stay with me? I was like, fuck yeah. And it's in Washington? Hell yeah, it's a nice part too. So let's do it. But we can talk about UFOs or anything like that. When you guys take over for a second, retweet the space and shit though, guys.
Yeah,
just do that shit for me.
For sure. Sent it out in DMs and everything. I guess while you're doing that, I'll let people know that, in case you didn't see it, I got invited to a round table the other day, and it was fantastic. Some names that you guys would obviously, I believe, we would recognize right off the bat. So Digby Furno, he's a little bit on the newer side, but me and him have been doing a lot of work together recently. He's a great guy. You should definitely go follow him. He's at dfurneaux, FURNEAUX. And if you have trouble looking for him, just look right on my timeline. You'll see me sharing stuff from him. But we had a round table that he organized, put together, and we had some incredible people with us. And it was such an amazing experience. We had myself and Digby hosting, and then we had Christopher Sharp from Liberation Times. We had Vinny Adams from Disclosure Team. We had Davey Johnson, and these guys are new to me. So it was Davey Johnson and Ash. They're from the Mechanism podcast, and they're coming up too. All brilliant guys. I was actually the only American on the panel because Holly Wood was actually supposed to be there, but she had a personal matter that she had to attend to. But it went really well. It's on my page if anybody wants to go watch that. We had such a fantastic discussion. There's something specifically that I'm going to be bringing up once we get some more people in here because I really want to get some eyes and ears on this particular topic. But
I was driving. I had a
yeah,
2
go ahead,
hour
Astral. Sorry.
drive where I was listening to it. It was a really good discussion.
Oh, cool. I'm glad that you took the time to listen to the whole thing. It was a really, really nice experience. Some really interesting ideas and such kind of came out through that. And something just dropped. And again, we can't prove or disprove, but there's a post that came through on Reddit. And it's another one of those. And yeah, but I figured it's like if at least one of these is real, it's like we just got to keep our eye on everything. So somebody made a claim.
Keep the process going of the analysis. Yeah.
Right. So it's like if we have to debunk it, we have to debunk it. It is what it is. So the post was entitled, "My aunt worked for Lockheed Martin as a technical training instructor. She was told by her class about an NHI that was captured alive, and this is what she said. I was a technical training instructor for the Air Force Mission Support System, AFMSS, for many years back in the early 90s. In 1999, I transferred to the F-22 program in Marietta, Georgia, where my job was to run the lab and instruct test pilots on AFMSS and ensure the data was loaded correctly into the avionics system of the jets. Working on the AFMSS program, I taught every type of pilot and navigators, B-2, F-11, 7, A-10, Warthog, KC-135, C-130s, F-16, etc. On one particular training day, trainees told me the technology for the F-22, fiber optics, came from a downed alien craft. That's not the first time I've heard that claim, by the way. I've heard that multiple times. It took F-22 approximately 20 years to reverse engineer it. Trainees also told me that in one instance, an alien they codenamed Strawberry Head was captured alive. Again, this is what I was told, and I was told at the time I could not repeat that information. This was in the early 90s. And then the poster said, "Does this resonate with anyone?" So,
hey, post that link, man, and I'll ask my sources on that shit. Matter of fact, here's the deal I'll make you guys with this space. Literally, I need to take my mind off it because I'm literally packing my studio and shit up right now.
right.
I got to be out by the 1st, so I got loads of fucking shit that I'm failing, dude. I got information that I haven't put out, shit like that. All this stuff, right? If we can retweet this space, man, get some people in here, dude. Literally stuff like this, like us talking about these things and then being in these spaces, it's the sole fucking reason I remember now that I usually feel better, right? I forget that and I kind of disappear on shit like that. Just retweet this shit. The more people in here, the better, right? Because this is how I get paid. Lots of money too, right? With my 4,000 followers.
Yeah, everybody make sure you definitely repost it because the more the merrier, obviously. It's always a better conversation when there's more brains involved.
I want to talk
Definitely.
about. I like to. Well, I haven't. Here's my biggest problem right now. I've been so out of it. I haven't looked at shit, man. So I don't know what's going on. Disclosure in the last. I don't know how long I've been gone actually, but
You haven't missed much, dude. Honestly.
okay.
Since
Yeah,
the
not
Grush
really.
shit, it's just been a bunch of kind of attempted distractions, in my opinion, from the Grush story.
Okay. So check this out. I don't know. God, I wish I fucking was better at this shit, but I know I posted a story about. Oh yeah, this is what I forgot to mention. So I posted that story on my Twitter, and I'll go in here after I'm done talking about it. So it's a connection, right? It's like, well, why hasn't Arrow done shit? Well, if you can go look at Sean, was it Fitzpatrick? Yeah, go look at his LinkedIn. You know, all you have to do is start making connections, and one of those connections, somebody who left him. What is that? What do they do? They leave you a something. I don't remember what the hell it's called. They leave you something. So you click on him. Guess who? Guess where he works? Northrop. And guess what he's in charge of? The all domain integration office, right? So basically, the whole reason this shit exists, all these companies have secret programs. They have their own all domain office, right? And Cynthia, that program, they're all combined in that shit, man. Check that out, right? That's the kind of shit that just sits in my DMs, and I feel like I'm a failure sometimes because my life imploded at the same time I start doing the reporter thing, right? So I'm like, shit, man, trying to put shit like that out. So think about that. That program, Cynthia, do you know? You guys know what that is, right? Everyone in here, give me a thumbs down if a no. Okay, everyone does. Sweet. All right, so check it out. The Cynthia program is basically a AI-driven program that has the ability to track UAP and all these other things. And there's another space I talk about it in another thread. Julia. So as far as UFOs and shit like that. Sorry, I had a phone call and it distracted me, and I hate that because I lose the topic. Anyway, Cynthia, is that saying it right? Yeah. So it has, the way it's connected is supposedly all domain integration, anomaly integration office, I think is what it is. Actually, the mission statement or whatever. I'm gonna fuck most of this up because I'm not reading it right now, guys. I'm just, one thing I'm good at research, putting this shit together, but putting it back out. Maybe ask me questions if you don't understand. So these offices within Northrop, Boeing, and all these, allegedly, they're all connected to this sentient thing, right? They have their own offices, their own programs. And you can go look like on my thread or just go to his LinkedIn and start looking and be like, oh, damn, he's awful fucking cozy with the people who are in charge of the programs that are, they're literally the people in charge of the secret programs at these companies. So that's a thing right there. And what's wild is it sounds all conspiracy, but I'm like, God dang, it's right there on LinkedIn. Like the guy who's supposed to be finding UFOs is actually got a good recommendation from the guy over in Northrop who is in charge of the office for that reverse engineering shit. Oh, no wonder shit's not getting done.
It's not surprising at this point. I don't trust Arrow. I don't trust a lot of the people that are connected to this in the government right now. You know, it depends
I
on who
still
we're
don't
talking
understand
about.
Arrow's involvement with whistleblowers. If you look at all of the documentation that Arrow has out on what they do, I went in like a deep dive on Arrow because I was like, where can I find
Yeah, I remember.
what their process is for when a whistleblower comes in or they want to reach out to a whistleblower, or like how there's no documentation out there. It's all about them collecting the data from the sources within the government and NASA, and then putting together the anomalous decisions on where to send it in what department. There's nothing really in there. Actually, nothing was in there mentioned whistleblowers or talked about that process. And it wasn't until the Gillibrand hearing where they talked about it a little bit in mentioning it, but there's no like process that's been put out for how they deal with whistleblowers, which I've always found confusing.
That is confusing, and it makes me think that there is an attempt within by somebody to obfuscate the process and perhaps make this even more challenging. You know, there's going to have to be some revisions to these whistleblower laws, etc. Obviously, we saw David Grush's information get leaked out. Like, someone should be going to jail for that, in my opinion. Like, it's really just plain and simple.
So yeah, they should. I agree, man. That weaponization of stuff like that, nah, man, it pissed me off. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting the phone calls. All right. Anyway, I don't remember what were you talking about? Because I had something to piggyback on. Man, that sucks, dude.
Talking about Arrow and
Oh, Arrow. So
yeah,
check this out.
government officials and
What
such.
does Arrow actually exist for? I mean, you were sitting there. They haven't done anything as of now. And they don't have anything. Also, I do believe they are on record saying they cannot talk to a whistleblower without the whistleblower being recommended, or not recommended, but what did I tell you it was, Astral?
For what?
I told you that the way it stood, the way I understood it was, because back in the day, Oh shit! I'm not gonna say that. It's funny, but I'm not gonna say it. But back in the day, I was, when I wrote for Roswell, was it Fitzpatrick said basically he's like, we can't just take whistleblowers. Congress has to basically send them to them. But there was no
Yeah, they have to be
system set up.
referred or something.
Yeah, referred, and there was no system set up. And so one of the things that I brought up the other day when Pretty Killer Space with Laszlo was follow the NDAs, and I can explain a little bit more on that here right after these messages. Retweet that space, guys. Just do me real quick. Actually, quote it, hashtag it. Do that shit. Because today I went to a space. I don't want to talk shit. I'm not. Because spaces are spaces, but I went to a space to do or listen to talk UFOs. Man, the space sounded like my life. I don't come to spaces for that shit. I got enough of that bullshit in my life, right? So I was like, retweet the space. Astral always has good spaces. Tom, definitely myself. We don't play around. We like to talk the subject. If you guys want to talk about anything, put it in the damn thread. We'll talk about it, and I'll put it in the nest. Or you just want to pop up and bullshit. Definitely anything related to UFOs. Because I'm still sitting here in Yakima Valley, perplexed as hell at my entire experience. It started here, leads to some wild ass places, to a recovery team at Hanford, which is nearby. Just shit that I can't explain. That actually, if anyone, let me put it to you this way: the last 3 years, especially right now, I got a little bit of hope. That's the only reason I'm fucking moving space. But last 3 years probably been the toughest of my fucking life because of both the experience and then the shit I was talking about earlier, harassment. Well, still now I wonder, okay, imagine asking yourself this. Just imagine saying to yourself, okay, wait, how is this real? This is still happening. It happens enough in places and stuff like that, but then I also start questioning how much of it's people, right? Go ahead, Jay Just.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm reading people stating that a disclosure is over. Is that true? What's going on? Can anyone fill me in?
Yeah,
Not
well,
a chance.
I'll tell you this. No, that's you know what? I'm going to be cocky. No, I'll tell you that I got here a little late for this disclosure. It's not over. And my life was imploded and shit like that. There's people who aren't going to give up. I don't think what's frustrating is this: there's so much going on, and it's happened. It's not over. What I think has happened. This is one of the options, guys. So one of the big things that there was, I heard someone, I think it was Frank Milburn actually talked about maybe it's like a soft disclosure type thing, like they're just bringing attention to it, so at least Congress gets checks and balances, so they can beat whoever they need to beat to reverse engineering and mastering the tech. Maybe it's one of those things. Maybe now they know its intention, right? So they're probably going to say, "Oh yeah, it's nothing now," and I'm not saying it should be good enough for us, anybody. What I'm saying is this: that people that are trying to get disclosure, it's a hell of a big step to have people in charge of the program that are supposed to be, as opposed to what is going on now, which you got a very real group of individuals, call them whatever the fuck you want. I mean, who was shouting about the whole Majestic 12 program and all this stuff back? I'm telling you, this shit goes way deeper than that. So, hey, Tom or Astral, take over real quick.
Well, I think that just the word disclosure, it's tough to get two people to agree on what that even means. And then you talk about where we are in the process. For some people, it hasn't even happened. They don't even know anything that's going on or even care, So I think that, like, for me, when you talk about disclosure, it's an individual journey that people are on. But disclosure, it could also mean the way that the community or the people pushing it are raising awareness about it. And whether that's through larger events like Grush or evidence coming out or like a grassroots movement. So like that's one of the questions that I asked is like, is disclosure to you more a top-down initiative that happens of like people announcing it to everybody, or is it a grassroots movement of people? I feel like it's more of a grassroots movement because once people get an announcement or a big thing, they still want to understand it. It's not like they understand it like, oh, okay, they're like, oh shit, like this is weird.
Yeah,
Then
but
when they start looking into it.
But Astral, people like, you know, the normies, let's say, or people who are a skeptic, they want an announcement. They want to see the evidence. You know, I mean, because the subject has been treated like it's some sort of hocus pocus kind of thing and not real, there's so much, the waters have been muddied. So I think it's time, if it's true, we should know our place in the universe, right? And science has to progress and human consciousness has to progress. So for me, it means being honest, being transparent about who we are and what we are and what is going on in our universe. And there's no in between, there's no grass movements. It just is. So if our leaders know something, they should tell us what they know. And it's very basic. It's like anything else. There's no runaround. Tell us what it is. Tell
But
us
that's
what it
assuming
is.
too that they know what's going on and they understand it. I think that we are very much closer in terms of the public to what they understand than they are further away towards the extraterrestrials or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think, I think like even if you look at Jacques Vallée has been researching it longer than probably anybody in the government, and he still isn't like narrowed in on one specific thing. So
Someone
I
had,
think there's an
but
assumption
someone
that they
has
know.
bodies. Someone has craft. Someone's already researched this shit. They know how many kinds of extraterrestrials apparently there are. They know if they are, you know, apparently, if the lore is true, we've been making some sort of agreements with these species. So if that is true, and they even have bases, if the lore is true, on Earth, or have even worked with our militaries. So if that is true, this is not just, you know, they have some data. There's some clear data. But what is true? And that's the question. And why can't we as a species, do you think that those species, do you think they don't tell their public about the realities of the universe? I'm sure they do. That's how we progress. All they're doing is not allowing us to progress. Unless there's something totally weird about this whole thing and it's not about extraterrestrial species and we're some sort of farm or entertainment or something that it might be better not to tell us exactly what's going on. But if it is just simply extraterrestrials, part of a universe, part of a grander scheme, then there should be no problem telling the public, hey, you know, we have neighbors. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but we have neighbors. And yeah, we've kind of hung out with them. We've made some pacts with them, whatever. And we didn't tell you because we didn't think the world was ready. So to me, I think it is a bigger thing than just figuring it out. It's being honest. And being honest as a species, unfortunately, we don't have people in charge that are honest. They learn to be the opposite. And we need more of that. And I think it's the only way we'll progress, personally.
I think that's really well said. I think, and again, I've said this many times over the last year, that I think we've reached a point from a societal point of view that we could, in fact, have a disclosure, a capital D disclosure, without the sort of repercussions that were expected when they initially started contemplating these ideas. For instance, the War of the Worlds transmission. That was a reaction because people thought there was an alien invasion. They were hearing things over the radio, and then a lot of what happened afterwards, you could probably correlate to that reaction. That probably got brought up in meetings many times, but that again was a very specific situation. People flipped on the radio and thought they were hearing a violent event that was occurring. That's very different if you juxtapose it against someone like a government official, such as the president, coming out to a podium and saying, hey, you know, we're not the only ones in the neighborhood. It depends on how they phrase it. And I'm sure if they were to do that, they would have to be very careful. Like, they're not going to come out to the podium and be like, yes, we are not the top of the food chain. Like, they're not going to use phrases like that. They're going to say that there's other intelligence around us. Now, there have been a lot of theories put forth to try to knock down the idea that any of this is even real to begin with. But as a researcher myself, I'm always able to move around that, and I can find ways to explain so many different aspects of this. For instance, just had that roundtable with Vinny and Christopher Sharp and everybody and Digby, and we were talking about crashes. And one thing that people don't consider, because they just write these types of things off, right? They're like, well, if they're traveling, this is the first thing you'll hear. If they're traveling here from, hundreds of thousands of light years away, which that's if they're even coming from other planets, right? They could just be coming from other dimensions. We don't even know. Then how is it possible that they're crashing if they're so advanced? Like, there's so many different answers you could give to that. You could have natural causes such as lightning. They're not perfect. Like neither are we. But then there's also things that people don't consider. If you go back and look in history, like there was that incident in Germany that happened in and I could be wrong on this. I'm sorry, but if I get the date wrong here, but it was like, the 14 or 1500s. There's that old newspaper image. It's not even a newspaper. It's like an etching or carving, and it shows like these cylinders and these orbs and these polygonal shapes in the sky with the sun. And when you read it back in modern times, it looks like there was a space battle going on in the upper atmosphere. Is it possible that if there are multiple intelligences visiting this planet that have varying degrees of either sympathy or a liking for humanity, but they all have their own individual motives, is it possible that they engage one another every now and then in our atmosphere, and that some of these crashes are a result of NHI versus NHI? Like, that's something that never gets talked about. Is it possible that when we have these crash retrievals, it's not that but I'm sure we've taken down a few, as Shane has said many times, that we have these bait and retrieval programs, but I would bet money that some of the craft have come down as a result of craft versus craft dogfighting. And I let me be clear, I'm not relating this to the recent comments by Ryan Graves, because I don't think he was just talking about the motion of the craft. I believe he wasn't talking about like projectiles or anything necessarily being fired from craft to craft, but he was just talking about like the motion, the way they're interacting with one another visibly. We have to take these things into consideration. A lot of people just look at this information at face value, and then they go about their business and they're like, yeah, that's not happening. So it's going to shatter a lot of realities. But if we're going to have a disclosure now, which we all deserve as human beings, this is the most perfect time in history to do it because of the level of distraction that you find in society now. People have their heads buried in their cell phones or their Kindles. It's really like no other time in history. This is the moment to do it, because it'll soften the blow. And we've been conditioned already through television and media, Hollywood,
Well, do you think that the
everything.
excuse that they gave that it would embarrass, what did they say, the DOD, or would embarrass? Do you think that that's good enough? That they,
No.
right. So why aren't the American people like pissed off? They
Well, let me
paid
ask you this,
these
JJS.
people.
Let me ask this for you. Since you brought that up, I'm in the under. This is the way I think. I wonder if anybody else thinks this way. Like, look, even if by bringing disclosure, if it brought the apocalypse, where do you stand on knowing the truth or not? I think we should know the truth regardless, But some people, like
Amen.
Lewis talked about, all these, maybe something, all these other things, right? But I still, doesn't matter. A free society, there needs to be checks and balances, and then the truth, period. There's no secret organization running shit with black budget that no one but read in individuals that happen to be family and shit like that. And so what happens is they get lost in the programs. Where do you stand on that, Jay? If
I don't care about their programs. If they're reverse engineering, they should be, right? What I care about is who are we, what are we, what's going on in our universe. I don't care if they make it into weapons. I wish there wasn't war. I don't care that they make billions of dollars. I don't care. They're going to anyways. What I do care is that they're hiding the truth about who and what our universe is. And I wonder why they are. What is the big deal?
Well, I think maybe because getting access to that base level I always talk about, consciousness, I think that is what this is all about, right? UFOs, everything is consciousness. But I think that's why they hide it, because I think anyone with the appropriate knowledge, Astral, teaching about gateway, things like that, can get an upper hand and can apparently do shit that's almost superhuman. I mean,
It
and
disrupts the power structure at that point. They have no
yeah,
control over anyone.
exactly.
I learned remote viewing. I'm not going to disrupt the power structure. Like I just utilized it to uh, learn who and what I am and what my capabilities are and just learn about the universe.
Right,
That's
and you're
it.
Well,
right
I'm
for
I'm not
doing
just
that.
talking about
But
that
they
though.
look at it
I'm
as a
discussing
group.
remote viewing's great, but I'm talking about upgrading that shit. And you guys don't make me say the mirrors and all that, and the Montauk chair. What I'm saying is this: our government learned from both Russia and then whatever craft that they have that consciousness is a key, and with hacks you can do crazy, amazing shit. And that's where the Psy Wars and all this other shit comes in. That's what I'm trying to say. So basically, remote viewing's one thing, but there's a whole time travel, teleportation, weaponization program with it. You got basically the MK Ultra shit, which is Project Superman with Andrew Pedro and a couple other of these, right? Pegasus, I think, is another one, right? Because what they're doing is realizing if consciousness is everything and all time is happening all at once, we just have access in a weird way, dimension wise. Yeah, maybe if you get access to that damn electric rail, you learn how to incorporate it into your tools. Let's say a tool being, hey, I'm going to drive this circular craft and I'm going to do a hack. So now I can just drive it with my mind. And on top of that, I don't need to worry about gravity and all these other things. So if you can hack that electric rail, everything keeps pointing to consciousness. Thomas Bearden's paper, God, I wish he was alive back in the day when I was, he was still around. Let me put it that way. This dude's a genius, Lieutenant Colonel. He wrote this paper. He wrote, what is the one human connection? Is that right? I think I did a space on it. But anyway, the whole point of that is this: what if the God? Look at it any way you want, God, Creator, or the point of existence, or all these other things. What if one of these things is here? It's the UFOs. Everything we've seen is all trying to get you to that electric rail. Because again, I'll say that we're all basically the same thing. And it's a matter of one thing putting out different, I guess. How do I say it? I said it more elegantly before, but I can't remember right now. But my point being is we're all the same fucking thing, but we're actually showing up differently on the palette. So what they're trying to do is whoever gets there becomes that. So we may be thinking aliens, and they're not exactly aliens, they're us. We're them. But once you get to that level, and so the paper talks about basically what we're seeing, maybe it's them, because if we take a step back and start thinking about what I think Tom was mentioning earlier, some of the crashes are gifts from God. And I say that little g type, like literally helping hands. We've got loads of tech from crashes way before most people even know about it. Take for example, the Great Falls, Montana crash, right? The way they describe it almost sounds like a fucking a dirigible. And then what happens? These dirigibles start popping around, right? So you always have one followed by the other. Some of these straight up look like gifts, not all of them, because another thing is our radar, we unintentionally take them down. Corso talks about that, right? Getting a telepathic message from a gray and straight up the gray saying, hey, your shit's fucking us up. Can you turn it off? So I don't even know how I got there. When I get on a good rant, it's like 10 minutes and I get to
But
the end and I'm
Shane,
like, wait,
here's the
how did I
thing.
start there?
Shane, here's the thing. You can't stop consciousness and you can't stop these things. And whatever they know, the Russians know. And whatever the Russians know, the Chinese know. So they can't stop it. What they can do is they can expand our consciousness and uh, teach the world who we are and what we are. Because really, you know, we're kind of stuck as a species. Look at our planet. Look what's going on. We're kind of stuck in this
We are
whole
more than stuck.
pattern.
How do we
Yeah,
upgrade?
consciousness and learning who we are and expanding our consciousness and expanding
I
our
agree.
vision of who we are.
Well, and I agree. And Thomas Bearden talks about those are some of the things that are important. But to reach that next level, you can't be a biological organism. There's something else you got to get to, right? Where to go, you know. So we need to think about consciousness a little bit different as well, because shit, AI, the way you think about it, it can become, maybe we're seeing things in a weird way because of the way we're seeing it. But I think the reason they hide it, because it's one of those things. It's the tools are there. If you keep them hidden, it's hard for people to get to. But once they have them, everyone can do gateway tapes. Everyone can fix their fucking lives. And
I think they're just scared. They're just scared. They're scared of why they hit it before they hit it. They have to answer to that. They're scared of they might not have all the answers and they might
what if?
have to
Let
admit
me ask you
that.
this. I know this is part of the possibility. What if part of the reason they're scared is because they know who you can make contact with? And not everything is love and light, right? Because
It could be. But
some of
it
the, you
doesn't
know what I mean?
matter. We know that there's tigers in jungles, but we still know about them. Okay, so like all I'm saying is for humanity, we need to know the truth. And if they have the truth, they have some of the truth. They need to tell humanity. That's all I'm saying. Because we're stuck in a hold pattern and it's not good. And they want humanity to change, yet they're stuck. These little kids are stuck on their TikTok and they're just consumers and they don't really know about who they are and what they are. You know,
It may.
they know very basic things. So I think that this is a way of changing the game. But that's my thoughts.
I agree with a lot of your saying, but what I think is going on is this: we got a lot of shit going in play here. So many different ones. Shadow War that they talk about. What could that be? Right? Is that possibly, like someone brought up earlier? Was it you, Thomas? So the Shadow War, is that but that's between our
I didn't use
contractors.
that phrase
I thought
specifically.
some of what you said. I know, but you were talking about like some war going on, right? Is that between two different NHI, or is that
Yeah, so
between?
maybe some of these crashes could have been the result of that sort of thing. Like,
Here's what
not
I
not
think on that, brother. I
it could
I,
just be a one-time thing, you know.
I
But
don't think they.
NHI,
Go ahead, man. I think one of us is stepping on the other, and it's probably me.
go ahead, Shane. You're good.
I think that what we got is, I'll go deep in the rabbit hole. I think we got treaties, and in those treaties, we make deals, and with those deals, some of that was tech, and some of that was also knowing that some of the shit that's here or coming here is bad, and there may be more coming, right? So, has anybody heard the date 2027?
Yep.
Many times now. It's
All
spreading
right,
like
so
at this point.
I've seen it in passing.
so check it. It's a deep rabbit hole you could go in. You could go have it. Oh, take over. Wait, my dog's about to kill somebody.
John Ramirez, I believe, as far as I know, was the first one to mention the date.
I
But
think
there's been
it's Bledsoe, though. Isn't it Bledsoe? I mean,
was
his prediction.
first. Possible. I'm not really sure. I know the first time I heard it was Ramirez, and then there's been a few videos that have been put together randomly by people online that it's a collection of people kind of either saying the date or alluding to the idea that there's a clock ticking down.
Didn't
Obviously,
Greer say
yes,
2026?
that's exactly.
Greer said
Well, I don't know.
2026, not 27.
He
He
may.
said
I
you
just
have until 2026. And
his press club
Bledsoe, I
to
think
you know,
2026 too.
he had that moment during his recent press club event where he said that there was like a timeline. There's, clock's ticking, and he got like very serious for a moment. Like his expression was like one of like fear, and I'd never seen him like that before, so it caught my attention.
Yeah, the last conference, he seemed really scared. I don't know why. Maybe he was scared to do it, but he seemed really fearful in general.
Something
Well,
people
do you
I
think,
want.
Tom, could be the
Yeah,
Orion Grays coming, and that's their date? Because aren't those the ones located in Beetlejuice, and that shit's about to go boom? Should be the right time frame, right? And I know Anthony Ferretti case talks about. They said, "Hey, our shit's blowing up, so we got to find a new place to live."
yeah, I've theorized like perhaps, like what would we do in a situation where it's not just contact, but it's uh, a refugee situation. It's not even just another species, another intelligence from another planet or universe, but what if they need our help and they're like, hey, listen, like we just lost our world, can we camp here with you guys? Like how would the world react to something like that? That's a tough one.
I personally think if they're coming in ships, they have tech, so they'll welcome them with open arms and want to learn about the tech.
Well, if it's consciousness, well, hold up. If it's a whole other dimension of consciousness, what we see as tech is that. Like it's like a high-end 3D printer just making shit at the atomic level, whatever we need to see and experience. Because think about this. This is the thing that Fort talks about that always sticks with me. Consider whenever you see a UAP, you're being enchanted. Because at that moment, our brains run on what? It's all about the spectrum, right? They control that. They can make you see, feel, hear everything, right? It doesn't mean they're not real physically. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what you see or record, because even your phones are susceptible to things like that. So, is Astral still alive, man?
Of course he is.
My bad. I was just kind of listening in. I just wanted to circle back to the crashing thing. I'm just not sure about the whole gifts from God thing because I don't know. There's bodies in there and stuff, so doesn't it seem kind of more like an accident or something? They don't seem very interested in us from what I've seen. I know everybody talks about telepathy and stuff, but I'm no expert on that. So that was just kind of my question. Like, you really think
Well,
it's
that's a
gifts
good
from
question.
God if there's bodies?
It's a
Yeah,
very
that's a
valid
perfectly
question.
good question. And here's what I'll say. Imagine this. What we're seeing, let's say the grays, just as an example. Let's say this color gray, this color, they're worker bees, some kind of biological AI. When one dies, its soul goes pop somewhere else to another one, and it's driven by. So let's say this is what I've heard. This is out there, guys. This is not out there in the sense that like crazy. I'm saying it's out there like there's information and people talking about this thing. So another upper dimensional being is basically what we would see as God could do all of these things, create these things, and would have this whole worker bee UAP thing. And I'll say that I've heard from people that I trust as well that like 98% of what's here is that AI biology type shit. So there is other stuff. Now you have a negative interdimensional and a positive. And the positive is the one that's giving us gifts from God. So yeah, it may look like bodies. Hell, now that I see it that way, change the C type thing going on, but it may look like bodies to us. And one of the things I know from our source that when I was at the Roswell Daily Record, who was legacy guy, right, in the programs, these beings, when they were cut open or whatever, what was inside them wasn't blood. It seemed more like a gosh. Have you ever seen the movie Alien?
Yeah, of course.
Whenever that dude gets separated and that white shit goes everywhere.
Yes.
All right. So
yeah.
That's exactly what he says, and 100%. There's no doubt in my mind he was in the program and did multiple jobs. Because if you saw his pedigree, you'd shit your pants, right? So, to me, that's probably what we're witnessing. And if it's a control system, like so many people say, and they're not saying it because they're idiots, they're saying it because they probably kind of heard it. What would you do? Even if they're gifts from God, that's a form of control system. I can tell you now, I'm more along the lines of this because of my experience, where it's led me, the stuff I do see, what's happened. I don't necessarily mean it's a control system, but I'm like, maybe they're fucking with us. But do you see what I mean? And it doesn't mean
Yep.
all of what's here is AI. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of it's that, right? So.
So you're saying, like, I guess with the gravy and drones, are kind of disposable. They're just kind of like another piece of the technology being left more on the biological side, I guess, like an artificial biological type being.
Yeah. So, well, that's why I said we need to maybe reassess how we conscious, because so basically we would see it as that, but because it's AI, it's got biology all around it. So picture, yeah, basically a droid, like a high-ended. Wait, has anybody seen on Apple frickin' Foundation, the blonde like that?
Yeah, Foundation. I read Foundation
Yeah.
way
So
before it was ever
yeah, I
a
should have
show.
said the book. I should have said the book, but most people here would have probably think show. But my
The
point is,
show is
she's
introducing a
such a
lot of people to the
well,
books.
yeah. And the good thing is, my point is, it shows how far advanced the AI is
Yeah.
in the books. It talks about no one knows, and that's just kind of a sacrilege. They're supposed to be gone. They think it's human, just like we would think it's that. So I think that's a big point. They're giving us shit to get us to go places, to do shit, and to do all those type of things, right? So
Right.
All right.
Have you guys? I definitely want to hear you on this one, Shane. I was reading something the other day. Apparently, Tom DeLonge made some comments that piqued the interest of many.
what
And as
Tom
soon
say
as I
about me
heard the
again?
phrase, that's right.
I'm just
I
messing
tried getting
around.
him to follow me. I was like, dude, we're both named Tom. We both play guitar. Like, we both study
Oh, remember what I said?
UFOs.
What did I say?
I don't think you saw it.
I think I
What
said
did you
what I
say?
said.
You
My
said
name's
something.
Shane. I like UFOs, and I like turtles. Fucking gif.
I think it's some bullshit. Did you hear his comment? Okay, I don't know if what podcast it was from. It was obviously from some kind of interview, but he made a comment about time sharing. You know what I'm talking about?
Like a condo.
No, yeah, right. No, NHI, time sharing consciousness. So it's almost like the idea that some of them may be using human bodies to take a ride.
I can see that actually.
You know,
So, but then, I mean, so if you have that, well, look, guys, this is what I was trying to say with the fort comment. You don't necessarily need to take a ride. This is what kind of people need to pay attention to. So, whenever there's, I guess you'd say, what are they fucking called? Crop circles, messages, things like that. Look, they're not going to put them in some encoded bullshit that we have to decipher. They can drop it right in our fucking head and we'll know all of it, right? It's just that's what freaking downloads are. Basically, you know everything you need to know about what they want you to know at that moment. That's how they can communicate. Don't have to be English, Indian. We need to remember that's all part of the same fucking spectrum we all kind of work on, right? So, shit, dude. How did I get there, man? I must be on one, man. I'm actually packing, so I'm talking, not really paying as much attention.
I'm unpacking from vacation still. Like, I'm taking my time with it. So there's a lot of possibilities to speculate about, right? And I find it frustrating that there's so many people that refuse to even take it that far. Like, how could you? None of us have the answers technically, right? Like, we have a good idea of certain things. We lean in the direction of certain things. But like when I put out a video, right? Like my next video is very speculative in nature. The point of that is to open the mind, to ask questions, and to try to put the pieces together and see where they fit best. But we can't get certain people to do that. They're just like, nope, no aliens. We're not being visited. Like they don't go and look through any of the actual evidence. Like I'm actually convinced that the average human being, if I could take everything that I have ever read, watched, or listened to about the phenomenon, and my own experience, obviously, but we'll leave that one out because that's very special and that's a once in a million thing, one in a trillion, really. If all the information that I've ingested if I were to have the ability to upload that into someone else's brain real quick, just boom, I feel that 95% of the people that see that would change their minds and be like, oh yeah, this is happening, because they haven't taken the time to go through everything. There's people who literally make statements like, oh, there's no physical evidence. Yes, there is. Oh, there's never been biological evidence where, biological effects on humans. Yes, there has been. Like, if you know anything about this subject, you know all of those things exist. There have been people who have been exposed to radiation. They've been scarred. There's scar tissue that's formed over 24 hours. A la David Jacobs, like he's been able to, like, there's medical records to show this. I mean, there's been imprints. Look at what you find in crop circles. Like, there's a plethora of evidence, and people literally go about their daily lives and think that there isn't. And that's what frustrates me, is that, like, they're not even willing to look either. And it's like, well, how do we get some of those people to turn the page? Because I feel like the more eyes and ears and brains that we have on this, the better chance we have of getting to where we want to be, which is ultimately, capital D disclosure. But it's like, it's such a difficult task to try to convince someone to, at least, and it's not to convince them that it's even real, it's to convince them to look at the evidence that they think doesn't even exist to begin with. Like, what about Dr. Lear? What was all that stuff? All that shit that he pulled out of people? I mean, there's so much. There's more evidence to suggest that we're being visited by ETs or NHI than there is for a lot of other things that people subscribe to in this world. Like, even from a religious perspective, people put their faith into certain things, and all they're doing is pulling it out of a book. Yet this has a lot to back it up. And for some reason, people just won't take that extra leap, that little step where they're just like, oh, well, I never knew that. It's like, well, you never took the time. And that's what kills me, is like, I have seen things, I've read things, and I have personally, in person, investigated certain things that the average person, I think, would at least take a step back and be like, okay, that's interesting. But they won't cross that line. It's like, well, what do we do? How do we get people to cross that line?
I don't think you can. I think complacency is really set deep in these days.
Yeah, I think obviously, like, on a person to person basis, depends. I know some people that have, at least heard me out, and some of them came around, but there's a lot of other people that won't. And then it's like, well, what's the reaction going to be when disclosure happens? Vinny and Chris Sharp and Digby and myself and everybody, when we were talking in the roundtable the other day, which is on my YouTube channel in case anybody wants to go watch that, we had this really interesting part of the conversation where we were talking about post disclosure, and I went up, it was my turn to answer the question. And one of the things that I think about are, like, and it's going to sound kind of funny in a way, but it's like social media post disclosure, right? There's already, like, two basic camps. You believe or you don't, right? When disclosure happens, I feel like there's going to be a lot of mudslinging as a result of disclosure, sadly. I think that's going to be one of the negatives.
What makes you
of
think
disclosure.
that? Would it be the release of David's fucking
I agree.
records?
Well, no, I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be some people that are like, I told you so. There's going to be some people from our side of the fence that are going to rub it in the faces of the people that said it was bullshit. And then there's going to be the people on the other side that, even when there is disclosure, they're still going to say it's bullshit, or they're just going to get really, toot-ish about it. They're going to be cranky and kind of childish. But I'm expecting some people that get a little too worked up about this subject to begin with, to the point that it clouds their judgment, that they're going to be like, oh, I told you so, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm expecting that from, and it's not everybody, and it's not a lot of people, but there's gonna be some of that,
that was my mom. Fuck you.
Oh damn. You said it,
Wait,
not me.
should I? Wait. You get a divorce. You need a place to stay. You still like aliens? Yeah. You get fuck you. Don't come home.
Oh, damn.
I'm playing. That's a joke. No, she didn't say that. She just
Yeah,
said
no,
don't
I
come
don't think
home.
so.
She doesn't cuss. No, I'm still playing, dude. I can go there. Trust me. I don't want to look.
Yeah, no, I believe her.
And there's nothing wrong with living with your mom because I've done it like 90 motherfucking times. But I was trying to avoid that situation because we don't need to look. I don't want to go from one hellhole to the other. And by that, I
Right.
mean, that's part of the reason I was fucked up to begin with being in that place. So it's like, but I got actually, dude, like literally maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, a friend of mine had called and he's not even, not even far from here. He's like, just come stay with me, bro. And I was like, oh shit, that works. I said, I'll do that till I can get my bearings right. Just kind of like I brought up earlier, I'm just kind of still in a daze about shit. That's why I kind of dipped out. I'm like, fuck, trying to figure out what to pack. Because if you don't know where you're going, it's hard to know what the fuck to pack. And I want to still be able to do my UFO mobile shit. Because look, one of the things that gets me is a lot of times people think I go too hard on UFO shit. When I'm not doing this stuff, researching, talking about it, trying to piece puzzles together, dude, I'm lost as fuck, And then life has got me kind of unfocused, and I was kind of struggling between, still seeing shit, but kind of like, man, what's going on? So, also, guys, hey, I don't usually do this shit, but my tips are also open too. You guys can throw anything in there if you want, because again, I'm about to be a divorced ass mofo looking for a place to live. God bless you, aliens. It's literally no shit a midlife crisis with aliens. Right? Yeah.
You're not your run-of-the-mill midlife crisis, right? This one
No, dude.
stands
This one's bad.
higher than the
It's
rest.
heavy.
This one's bad enough. I don't think I ever want to talk about it ever, unless it's a lawyer. Let me just say that, man. It's fucked up, and because also people don't understand the trauma that exists, and at the same time you're being fucked with, you're having UFO experiences. And on top of that, prior, you're a recovered addict who fixing their shit, right? No one's gonna fucking believe you, dude. The trauma and the fact that no one would believe me about anything. I had to just eat harassment for 3 years till I had the proof. And then all the time that UFO shit was literally just kind of eating all the kind of, I guess you would say, anybody wanted to pay attention to me, if I wanted to go take care of the harassment, would look at my UFOs. Nope. I'm still living it, dude. It's the most, no one would believe the situation that I wound up in. It's fucked up.
Yeah, I see people have a hard time getting outside of their comfort zone with beliefs. I've had some things happen to me that cause trauma that I still can't reconcile because I think you get grounded or something. I'm no guru or hyper intelligent person, so I don't have the best, prettiest words for it. But I think people just get comfortable. They don't want to get outside their comfort zone.
No, I agree. And I'll tell you this. I'm such a pro at trauma. I make the joke a lot that my life's literally, it's a series of traumatic events with little beautiful moments that keep me like, all right, stay. You got to stay for this shit, right? So this one is like look, it's hard for me to say that, like, I don't understand necessarily. Like, I'm in a place because of the topic, being on UFO Twitter spaces, people in the community. I'm in a place where I know I can deal with this. And this is the most traumatic shit I've ever had to deal with. Believe me, I don't want to talk about it right now. And the war shit fucked me up, but now I have tools, but I'm in a place where I'm not all fucked up prior because of the abuse as a child, which gives you the CPTSD, which sends me over the edge, becomes an addict, all those things, right? So I woke up. All of a sudden, I'm doing this shit, right? Does anyone in here know what it's like to be someone who burns their life down and think that, man, being just a recovered addict or a recovered mental health patient, is that all I got to look forward to? Everyone going, and I'm not saying if you're clean, that's an excellent job. That's awesome. But I'm saying, I know we all struggle with, like, is that it? I mean, people not trusting you to do things. And I got to do great things. Why did I get to do great things? Fucking aliens, whatever you want to call them. Doesn't mean it was them, whatever. I lean that it was. Dragging from place to place the events. I can tell you, no one would believe my life at all. Like the people, like I don't even, most of my friends, actually, most of the people I talk to, I'll call it that, daily, the only people I talk to daily for months at a time sometimes, You know, will be Astral, Tom, and then I'll talk to him on occasion, and then anonymous source type people, right? That's my life because I woke up. It's like I woke up out of a fucking coma, and there was fucking aliens, and then I'm losing my mind because people were fucking with me. It was all fun and games, and then here I am, like I didn't believe in that shit 3 years ago, and I know I can deal with this trauma, this bullshit, but it sucks. I don't know what's better. Well, I do know it's better because back in the day I would have crawled somewhere bad. I can deal with it, but now it's like I got that disassociation, and it kind of sucks that I'm able to see it all and absorb it and just sit with the gut feeling of nastiness and be like, all right, bigger and better things because I've done shitty things, right? I haven't done the bigger and better things. I'm trying to do that, and I have done shit wrong, right? Then nothing but fix my fucking life. I'm like, you know what? All right, you know, shit happens. You lose everything all at once. Who gives a fuck? Trauma's trauma. And I can tell you this, I'll survive. I can sit there and pity party myself, but sometimes it's just kind of like, what the fuck is even going on? It literally, at times, feel like I'm being punked with all this shit that happens. And because of the events that all happened together at the same fucking time, I had to choose what I wanted to talk about: harassment or UFOs, because no one would believe either of them if I talked about both of them a lot, right? They're like, this dude's fucking whack. So I had to eat trauma, just record, just take harassment, just record, do it over and over and over. So that's also why I'm going to tell you, no doubt in my mind, I'm a beacon, fucking pulsing to whatever's out there. And they said, hey, this dude's fucked up. Let's see what's up. And that's why my experience, I'm going to say a super experiencer. I hit all those, I mean, a lot of the fucking check on the checklist. I'm a super experiencer. I'm going to tell you it's because my life is so fucked and I was just kind of eating it, right? So, yeah, trauma's a thing, man. I think they're interested in those emotions, you know, that type of thing.
I definitely understand where you're coming from. Aside from the military thing, like everything you said hit me. So I have an idea what you're going through. I'm sorry you have those times, for sure.
I appreciate it too. And it's like I said, I'm appreciative that I'm not going to go do something stupid, crawl into some drugs or dumb shit. I'm never going to do that again. That I'm able to kind of just feel shitty, pout, not do anything destructive, right? But I can promise you, this is what's fucked up, man. I've 3 tours of combat, fucked me up, but drugs, all this kind of shit, homelessness. I can promise you, what's wild is this may not destroy me like the other events did, because now I have the ability to deal with these things, and I have an alien support structure, right? This is no shit. I didn't have anyone to talk to prior to aliens, so I don't know if that's what the junk was, just getting me in here to bullshit with you all. But it
Sorry,
feels.
oh, God.
Hey man, don't worry about it. I can tell you what. There's days that I'll pity part of myself and say, hey, can anyone be more unfucking lucky in their life? But then I'm like, dude, not really, because I shouldn't even be alive, and I'm not even fucking around, dude. My drug of choice was fentanyl back in the day. 2017, I got clean. Been clean since. I shouldn't be alive, so I can deal with this. That's why I'm kind of grateful. Like, this ain't as bad as I think. Uh, it just sucks that there's aliens with it. So it's like no one will take you seriously. Oh man, dude, my past, aliens, and harassment. How fucked is that? Would you believe a motherfucker talking about that shit? No. So I just had to video for 3 years and take the shit, right? It's fucking, and it's wore me out. That's where I'm at. That's where I went, you know?
Gotta stay strong. You know what I
I know I
mean?
just
I
bummed
mean,
everybody. Shane killed the space, man. It was a good space, and he just bummed the fuck everyone
Nah,
out.
no, you didn't.
no, I don't. I wouldn't even say bum out. I think you were being very real. I'm pretty open about my struggles from years ago. It's gonna be 10 years clean for me. Um, Next July. I'm at 9 years now. I was doing opiates, heroin, and such. I wasn't an intravenous user. I was just, snorting it like cocaine. Just, full disclosure. And I didn't want to live that way. I never meant to become that way, but I figured out what some of the problems were. Is that I didn't have enough self-respect or love, and then once I figured those things out and really started to hone in on the things that I really did like about myself, everything kind of fell into place. And now I try to, work to destigmatize that. Like, some people hear the term drug addict and they immediately think that you're a scumbag, but I was still a functioning member of society. I still worked the job. I was just getting high and trying to, numb some of my emotions. And honestly, looking back at all of those things, I couldn't imagine the type of person that I would have developed into without that experience. I probably wouldn't be as wise. I wouldn't be as caring. I wouldn't have as much self-respect as I do. So, as I like to say, sometimes the things that happen to you in life that are bad, they're not happening to you, they're happening for you. I try to look at it from that lens.
Look, all of my experience, it's just a lot, everything. But I'm going to tell you now, and it sounds fucked up. And somebody just they said something to me that I'm a truth teller. I'm not going to say their name in case they don't want to say it right now, but I've always done that. What's fucked up is this. Because of that, I talk about my real experience, what I go through as it progresses. That also kind of hurts you on different aspects, right? Especially with my past, and then having to deal with that other bullshit. So it's always tiptoeing around. I gotta fucking tiptoe anymore, which is cool. But I can tell you this too, like being able to. There's no place else for us to go, everybody. We're your fucking help. I can promise you, there's nothing more cathartic. Yeah, you can go to Reddit and all these fucking rooms. Where else can you go so you can dump? Dude, my experience is insane. 3 years, and I can promise you, it's happened, and I can prove it all. But it's one of those things that people wouldn't understand because it changed me from being fucking atheist to agnostic. I know I'm being controlled. I just don't know if it's good or bad. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Definitely felt the change from atheist to agnostic. My bad. Like you said, full disclosure, like what got me into the subject in the first place is when I was a kid. My great grandfather used to work for the notorious Lockheed for like a very long time. He worked on satellites, and some of the things that used to come out of his mouth as far as his personal beliefs and some of the things that he built that I can explain it. It's not like magic or anything, but he was kind of ahead of its time, and I want to know if that's real. I want to know if he wasn't just one of your classic crazy genius, because it was very spiritual what he was talking about.
Let me ask this. So you said spiritual. So does anyone else, look? I know people. They have religions. They have the universe, whatever they want to see. The risk of sounding crazy. That's what I see as or we'll say an AA term, right? That source of focus. That's what saved me, dude. It doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. But that being said, I will still sit here right now and explain, like, all right, prior to my experience in Yakima Valley, which I had no idea at the time, was a hot spot, crash retrieval team here, all that shit, right? And prior to that, didn't even believe, have the experience. It literally brings me to a place that I wanted to be to, I should have been to. I'm healthier because of it. Don't get me wrong, I'm traumatized right now, but I can't, it's duality. I can't explain it because it literally, I don't know if it's the overall thing that's been traumatic with everything that was going on, but I look at it, man, and sometimes, dude, I'll sit and I got a video. I think I posted on my Twitter. And during the video, people want to say it's a satellite, it's this and that. Well, it comes, all these other things happen, right? Take everything, context. I get on my knee. I literally said, this is all fucking real. I need some guidance. Pop into that fucking frame right now. Instantly, it flares up and it's going across. I'm like, oh, shit, right? But that's a continuous thing. Go to Roswell, see it with people 3 days in a row, a bunch of people. And it just goes with me. And then I realize, oh shit, my life's falling apart. I get dark. I start doing what everybody does, right? We all have fucked up times. But then I'm like, oh, I realize what I'm feeling is grief because that ride, I wasn't writing for the Roswell Daily Record and all that was kind of over. And I realized, holy fuck, dude, you're not just a mentally ill addict, dude. You're a reporter, you're this, all these other things, and you got it because of fucking aliens. So how wild is that, man? I literally fixed my life, and everyone could think I'm bullshitting no. There's a reason I have 4,000 followers. I'm here to answer my own questions, and the more answers I get, the more questions I have. Like, I'm a firm believer. and Psy downloads hunches, things like that, because I follow mine. Does anyone else in here follow the universe or signs? Because when I don't, oh, I pay. Like I went to that whole filming shit against what I normally would have, because I try to stick with my control. I try to let my control system have control. Everybody's thinking I'm wild. No, I'm telling you right now, it's played such a big part in my life. Prior to 2020, and here's the picture I want to paint real fucking quick. Prior to 2020, I was still fucked up. I just left mental health care for the last time, Wounded Warrior, I think it was. And I was hitting the ground running like everyone does, leaving anything like that. I'm going to fix myself this time. The pandemic happened. So fucking defeated, right? I couldn't go anywhere, see anybody. And maybe that was a good thing because I didn't use, but being outside nonstop, I started seeing daily these things. And no one would fucking believe me. No one. So I decided I was going to start recording. I'm a
Say
videographer.
orbs, like orange ones?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. You name them, seen them.
I've
Yeah,
seen
dude.
those.
Yes, a lot of them. And then on top of that, having to deal with drones and shit, all that kind of shit. But as I progress, you don't take the time to breathe and be like, what's going on? No, dude, I was literally it felt like I was in a fever dream. All of a sudden, I got my whole body crashed after it was all kind of done. I was like, oh shit. David when he came forward, that was the moment. It's like, it's disclosed, guys. No matter what anyone thinks, if you know anything about David, the military, it's disclosed, dude. And matter of fact, the people they talked to him they've been interviewing for the last 4 years, it's only going to bust wide open. Right now, they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. So that's why a lot of people are saying, oh, it's not going to happen. There's no fucking way this goes back in the bottle. I should be back, but I kind of stopped because I get on my rant.
Where we are now, there's no going back. I don't think. I think we've gotten over that hill at this point. I really do. I don't think there's anything that's gonna stop the train now. Like they could shut down the investigation. They could get rid of Arrow. It doesn't matter because we're still going to investigate. As Astral had been mentioning, and I fully agree with this. The grassroots effort is ultimately what's going to win the day.
Let me ask
when
you
it comes
this.
to this subject.
Who do you think wants disclosure? Is it human or NHI?
That's a good question. Well, obviously, there's a lot of humans that want that, right? Because we're all here right now.
Well, I should say this.
But
who do you think, if it's a control, and just this is my opinion, what I should have said is this. In your opinion, who do you think's driving it? Like for me, if I think it's a control system, look, man, I ended up with a crash retrieval guy, and because the series of events, just remember this, having the guy in a program doesn't mean shit if you don't have someone that can vet it. I just so happen to have, things that all lined up. How? Why? And then later find out my obsession with crash retrieval teams. Oh shit, wait, there's one 30 miles from me? No shit. That doesn't make any sense without these fuckers, right?
Right. It's a good point. I think NHI is driving it in some form or another because I've had too many synchronicities and too many things that lined up in ways that it almost felt like a wave back at me. I mean, I've been studying this my whole life, right? I had an experience. I've had more than one, but I had one that, was major. And then, I started a YouTube channel in 2016, basically just talking about multiple different subjects, conspiracies, UFOs, and such. Then I take a little break, right? Then I come home from work one day, and I'm like, ooh, what's this button do? And I'm like, oh, look at that. I can stream Star Wars Battlefront 2. I have a PlayStation and a cell phone. I don't even have a PC yet, so let's go do that. Next thing you know, I have enough money for a PC. Next thing you know, I meet Astral. Next thing you know, I team up with Ty. Next thing you know, I'm interviewing Steve Bassett. Like all these little things, boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, I have 12,000 followers. Next thing you know, my video has 40,000 views. Like it sometimes it really just feels like there's a spirit behind it. It's like the best way that I can say it. There's a force guiding me in the right direction.
And it is. It's the universe. Well, let me put it this way. whatever I'm dealing with just so happened to bring me to what I needed the most, which was connection. And I say that because Sebastian Younger in his books, Tribes, he does some TED Talks. Whenever you leave the military, part of that PTSD is you're separating from brothers and sisters that you know that you have your back, that you're told, sit here, protect them. They die, you're fucked, right? That kind of thing. So you always know you can count on everybody. Now, I want you to do that over and over. War, sorry, it's hard to talk about. Things like that. And you, all of a sudden, you're not ready for it. You don't know about it. You're cut loose. Go to society where it's pretty much here in America, you're on your own. And there's no this, that, or the other. So no one's watching your back. These things, all you think about is them, how they are, these things. So how the fuck did I get on this?
I do
You have a
think
funny
though that
way of
there's
going from one to the other.
what you're talking about, Tom. Like when you
Anyways,
lean
called
in,
ADHD.
when you like lean into the creative aspect of it, you know, I feel like
Yeah.
when you start producing actual content that has an influence on people, that's when I feel like somehow it impacts your life in some sort of positive way. When you start, it's not even like you don't even need to frame it in any sort of thing, but I think when you actually start getting other people curious to look into the topic, regardless of what angle you go at it, it sort of, you know, shifts you in a direction where I think it into more of a successful lane than if you were just on Twitter complaining about everything all the time.
I know
Yes.
exactly what you mean.
Let me ask both of you this. Co-host, anyone in this room, I want to hear actually opinions too. So let's say you're having an experience, okay? Not just a normal experience. Call it any of the classic super experience or Bledsoe, any of these others, right? Myself, all of these. You're having experiences continuous all the time, and you're able to record it, whatever. Now, fast forward a little bit, and you start having dreams. And in those dreams is what happened in the scene like abduction, right? What's happening there is it you freaking yourself out and giving yourself the dreams? Or do you think you're recollecting some things? Because who do you go to figure that out, right?
Right. That's a good question. I mean, we don't know so much about dreams either, right? Like, for all we know, dreams could be other realities that actually exist. I don't know. I think ultimately we're going to have to start really thinking about what our definition of real is very soon. We're going to have to really start thinking about that, honestly. Because think about it this way, if consciousness is fundamental and it's like the baseline of everything, well, that means on some level that dreams are real in their own way, shape, or form. And that means thoughts are real. They're no less or more real than you know, my room right now. And same thing with DMT dimensions and such. There's a lot to be considered there. And I think, again, it just leads back to consciousness. And I hope I'm making sense, but it's just we're gonna have to really start thinking
We're all
about
different expressions of the
reality
same thing.
differently. Right, it's like we're all we're all a different eye of God, essentially. You know, I've heard that
But
one
you,
before. I
but you
thought
were
that was a
kind of
cool
asking
phrase.
Shane like more like maybe like something like communion, where if people had the experience before reading the book or seeing the cover, it would be a lot more interesting than after a bunch of people read and saw the cover and then
That's
started
fair.
having these experiences.
But yeah, you're right. But here's the thing, though. We all know how human memories work. We also know how traumas work. Oftentimes, you lock traumas away, and then what happens? Something familiar unleashes that shit like a beast, right? Look,
Right.
here's what's wild. Because of my PTSD, things like that, I don't dream medications. One of them being weed, another one being a medication just for night terrors type shit, right? So I go to Vernal, Utah after the start of my experience. No fucking shit. First night in Vernal, Utah, I have a dream that I'm abducted. They keep coming back, right? No big deal, right? And fast forward, I didn't have any more dreams like that. I don't dream still. And again, fast forward what? I think it was about maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I keep having a repeating dream that is literally, I can't begin to explain it. It doesn't look like a grave. It's standing over me. It looks like a fucking hood on, but it looks like the guy from Pirates of the Caribbean with tentacles coming out from the hood. No face, but a little slit. And it's pointing at some shit. And it's frustrated as fuck because my dumb ass can't figure out what the fuck it's pointing at, right? I have no clue what it means. And I'm like, am I doing that to myself because I'm freaking myself out? But what's wild is the only time I had mentioned that to someone, right? And they posted a fucking picture in it. I was like, what is this? I mean, so possibility NHL like that exists. And Dale, well, I don't know if you want me to call it by that. Observer of anomalous objects, an actual real life friend, brother.
Hey, how you doing, man? You hear
What's
me?
up,
Better
man?
now. I'm feeling
Me and him
more
talk
myself.
through DMs all the time. What's up, bro?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Absolutely,
you're coming
brother.
in loud and clear.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just decided to jump in, man. Didn't want to catch one of your spaces, but I always seem to.
Oh, you cut out, buddy. But yeah, I'm glad you're here, dude, and stay, man. And actually, I've been feeling like shit, but I'm feeling quite a bit like myself now, man. So
You said you're friends with him in real life, right?
yeah, dude, there's some pictures
He's a good
online.
guy, man.
We went to actually the Observer. Wait, is it okay to call you by your name? You want Observer or what, Dale? Damn, I called you by your name again. I suck at this shit.
That's
Anyway,
tough.
yeah. Do you want me to call you my name, Shane? No, stop it. Anyway, my point being, tell them about your experience. We when we met, the whole point of it and what happened. If you, I actually, you know what? You're gonna have to leave and come back because we can't hear you, dude. I'm just thinking that. His speaker looks like it's going. Am I the only one that sees that?
No, I don't hear him.
No, just a speaker with no symbol or anything. I can't hear him
So
either.
do this. Close the space and then. Okay. Well, hopefully you heard that. He'll tell you about it. But actually, he lives not far. And I'll set it up a little bit. He wanted his first experience. I was talking about sharing mine all the time, everywhere I go. So we decided to make a plan to meet up. But it was it ended up being the 4th of July because shit for reasons. We're trying to figure out where we're gonna go. Well, I was like, you know what? Let's go to the hot spot. The Toppenish, which is where it's supposed to be, right? The location. So we went to the casino there, not realizing, oh shit, they're gonna be fireworks all night. So we made a plan. Is he in here still? So I'm actually literally telling the whole thing. We made a plan at 3:30 a.m. We're gonna wake up and go outside. And sure as shit, we wake up, we walk outside, and I look up, and there's that bright white orb just going slowly. Heineck talks about the studies talk about just going. I said, Dale, right there. He's looking and then he's out there having his own afterwards, right? So, yeah, I don't know, man. You can get infected for free for me. You don't have to worry. I'm paying my shit, man. Just go to Yakima Valley. It's no shit.
Kentucky's pretty lit up too.
Where you at in Kentucky, man? I used to live in Ashland.
Pretty close to Campbell. Pretty close to Campbell. Have you ever heard of Hopkinsville?
Oh, yeah. I've heard of Hopkinsville. That's some crazy shit that happened there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not actually even from here, but I've lived here for a while. Yeah, I heard some of those stories, but this is where I had my. I don't know what happened. I don't know what it was, but it definitely I'm pushing 30 and I have reservations of being by myself in the dark still. You know what I mean? So there's some crazy stuff here.
I do not doubt it. And Observer, damn it, this is gonna be hard when you have friends on here. Observer, what happens is this: sometimes your mic glitches, so when you leave, you need to exit the space and close the app and come back. Try again right now. Let's see if we can hear you. We couldn't hear you before.
All right. How about now? I went out and came back in.
Yep, you're good. We can hear you. So, you want to tell them about what happened when we went to the Toppenish?
Okay.
I kind of already did, but
okay.
Second point of
It
view.
was really cool. Shane and I had been talking for quite a while about getting together and going out and checking out some of the orbs that he was seeing. And so we ended up meeting over by Yakima. I can't remember the name of that exact town or the place we stayed, but it was July 5th. And I remember we got up like 3:30 in the morning and went out, and it was just bizarre because the second we walked out of the casino, it was like there was an orb up there just waiting. I mean, it was just unbelievable. It's just like instant. And I had some night vision with me, but unfortunately, it did not work right. But I probably couldn't have got a picture of that one anyway because it was above the lights. But anyway, then we went over to this open area, and sure enough, we saw another orb. And so that was really, really cool. It's the first time in my life that I've seen something like that. And Shane had told me that I would probably see more. And just 2 days later, on July 7th, back in Oregon, which is where I'm from, I took my wife out and we saw another orb. And I tried to capture it on my night vision again. But this time, even though it was corrupted, the video was corrupted, I was able to get 3 stills of it. And so that was really cool to be able to see orbs. Definitely feel like I'm on the inside now, not from the outside looking in. And so I owe Shane a lot because, you know, he took some time out of his life to spend with me. We ate pretty good too,
Oh
didn't
hell
we?
no, dude! It was a good time, man, and we ate good, and I gambled a little bit of money away.
I didn't lose too much, man. I think I lost 50, but man, the food was outstanding there. Can you remember what the name of that casino was?
Yes, it's Legends. And here's the thing, one of the reasons I remembered is I probably needed it, right? To probably dry myself out. Then I was going through it a little more then, right? So I just shouldn't have, I was drinking probably a little too much. That place, because of where it was located, happened to be I was sneaking beer. I had like 2 or 3 beers I snuck into the hotel because you couldn't get beer or anything. Like, dude, I just wanted to chill, drink a beer, and gamble all my money away.
Probably saved you some then, huh?
Yeah, I did. It was cool. Ended up, we had a good time. And then, man, at prime rib, right? We had prime rib.
Yeah, we had prime rib. I had what was it? The steak. I can't remember what it was now. It wasn't ribeye. Maybe it was New York or something like that. But man, oh, the food was there. It was just
Actually,
amazing.
dude, it was. I needed you then at that moment
Oh
too,
man,
because like I was going through it. You know what? That's part of what's going on now. But guess what? I'm in a better place now. So,
yeah.
dude, I appreciate you being there and taking the time to hang with me, man. Because I'm telling you, who else do you get to hang with? So hey, let's go look for aliens.
Yep.
Everybody else think you're a fucking weirdo, and I promise you that, right? And for some reason, I don't know why, and this doesn't mean it always happens, but every time now that I've been somewhere and people have tried, what he just explained has happened in some form or fashion. And then later, they're infected. They're seeing it. I don't know what the hell's going on, man.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Man,
Thank you, brother.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll let you get back to the chat. But anyway, thanks. Just wanted to share that with you guys. Maybe later on I'll jump back in on something that happened yesterday, but I just want to listen and kind of enjoy the conversation, if that's all right.
Enjoy. Tom, Astral, will you take over?
Yeah, man. So, Observer's a good guy, man. Like we've spoken many times, obviously through DMs. Huge supporter of what I do, and happy to have you here, man. It's an honor and a pleasure. Um, Something I'm going through right now. I just made a post about what we were talking about earlier with crash retrievals and what could be causing them to crash. And it's amazing when you go and just look at how many different examples from ancient history there are of there being like just a vast number of objects in the sky at once that seem to be in battle with one another. I posted 4 examples in the post. I guess I'll share it down below when I get the chance here. But it's my most recent post. But it's crazy. But it's like it's every culture. There's Roman, German, Chinese, Japanese. It's just endless, and it's like we can't discount the idea that there are factions. Maybe there are war, over the earth, right? Or maybe they just have run-ins with one another. But at no time did I ever find it impossible for these craft to crash here because there's just a large number of reasons that could cause that. And the paper trail and information that exists pertaining to crash retrievals, which I've been digging into a lot lately. It's like, where did that come from? It's like it didn't there's corroboration. There's very similar details. So it leads me to believe that it's true, that it's happened before. And it's like, well, how come the military is always the first one there? Well, They're the ones with the tech. They have the radar. They know when things come into the atmosphere before any of us. We don't have radar dishes in our front yard, do we? And this is the perfect example being Virginia. It's like they were tracking that object. NORAD knew it was coming in. So when it crashed, they already knew it was going to happen before it happened. Like the pieces fit, honestly, and they fit well. And the reaction to such an event is exactly what you would expect from a human-led military. Secrecy, and doing things as quickly as possible and as secretly as possible. It's, to me, the puzzle pieces come together pretty well, honestly.
I like puzzles. Actually, I really do. And what's funny is I never would have guessed, like investigating, doing things like researching things, this kind of stuff. All the shit I bitched about earlier is real with my experience. But the other thing is, I'm one of those people completely different. And I mean that in every bit. Like, I'm not the same person. And what I do I don't watch TV, movies at all. Nothing but reading, things like that. What I like is completely different. And it's very hard for me to turn off. Like, literally, I get my joy from piecing puzzles together. That's my addiction, right? And UFOs especially. So, like, all this shit going on, I kind of was unplugged, and it's got that and rocks. So, this topic is so important to me because, again, the only people I talk to, probably, literally, I want to say it too, because the best friends in my life pretty much are from UFO Twitter, because I have veteran friends, but now I'm in a space where I'm even more niche, right? Recovered, mentally ill, recovered, experiencer, veteran. So sometimes these rooms are probably my favorite places because I, I literally, I met Tom in here, Astral, ages ago in here, right? I started doing spaces with Tupacabra, and it actually became my outlet. I'm only alive because of talking in these rooms, and then moving on to the 45 different, podcasts I had that ended and moved on to another, my own shit. That's because it gave me a creative outlet to put this shit down on. Because, again, I get experiences happen, but what do you do when everyone already thinks you're a fucking batshit crazy person, and you're seeing and recording this shit and sharing this shit everywhere you go? And you talk about it at all, like I'm talking about it in here in the outside world, what do you think they're going to think? If I start telling the outside world, hey, yeah, we're probably going to see some shit and it's going to follow you, and that's, I didn't even know that existed before UFO Twitter, that they're super experiencers, infection type, infectious disease model, all these other things. I'm like, that makes sense. And, Observer actually was talking about that a little bit down in Roswell, same thing. I don't know what it is. It's interested in my trauma. It's probably feeding off that shit. It's probably setting me up like, hey, check this out. This is some awesome shit. Let me give it to you. So it gives it to me. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And the intention was to watch me fail. So it's all Gnostic and shit and just eating my trauma. And I can see that as well. That's why I said I agree with Simney Man. I think it's kind of fucking with me a little bit. Maybe not, but I can't. I'm in a point in my life. Think about how crazy this sounds. I can't tell if it's me reacting to my experience that's brought me to this position, or if it's my experience and it that's brought me to this position by making me jump left and right and that control system. How fucking crazy is that? That who would I go say, hey man, I'm having a little trouble telling my reality right now. I like to talk about that. And I can promise you, my reality is more bendable than I could ever begin to explain, because people get uncomfortable when I really start talking about, like, hunches, downloads, things like that. I'm only here because I followed my hunches, the synchronicities. I realized early on, okay, this makes no sense. Who did this? Let me just, and I figured those things out. And some of them sound wild, but I can see why people would worship whatever's going on or think of it as a deity or God or things like that. But shit, maybe it's our government putting shit in our head. They can do that, right? We 70s MK Ultra putting shit in our head. So how much is real? How much is them? How much is, I guess you'd say, our government? And then here's the bad part, man. I'm not going to say bad because there's nothing bad about this, but because we get a lot of people to gravitate. I say a lot of people like I'm fucking one of them. mentally ill. We've got mentally ill to gravitate here. Is that because, again, they're interested in the mentally ill? And I know not all of them that come here to talk about that is real. I'm saying we need to pay attention to things like that, right? The addicts, ex-addicts, recovered. Is it because, what reason is it? Is it maybe because no one will fucking believe them? Holy shit, which causes more trauma, which they feed off of? Or is it for another reason? Because think about how many times uh, individuals with a traumatic brain injury or all these other things that have these type of experiences, is it unlocking something, or is it their interest in that?
Yeah, I'm wondering maybe if it isn't that, everybody else is kind of boring, all of us who have a past or a trauma or something like that, it's interesting to them. They're trying to figure some of that out. And like you said, maybe dialogue or working with us, possibly even feeding off of that anxiety, brother.
Hey, the whole reason I went down to, I actually went on that filming trip that ended up turning out not the way I wanted it to turn out. Let's just say that. It's because my experience has been such that I see it everywhere. Look, everywhere type thing, right? So I was like, you know what? We're supposed to go to Skinwalker area, then Bradshaw Ranch for like a week. And because of heat and rain, we didn't end up going. But the reason was I really started thinking about it. As bait. I went as bait. I was like, okay, that's what I wanted to try to do. I was like, damn, I just set myself up to go as bait. But because I don't understand, and it's never, the more I do this, doesn't matter what I do involved in it, I get my own answers, because who else do you go to for fucking answers? I got more answers, but now I got way more questions, which fucks me up even more. One of y'all take over. I think I've been talking for 2 hours now.
Oh, here, you know what I could mention is, so there's some reading that I've done. There's an author named Anthony Peake, which I don't know anybody that's familiar with him, but I got turned on to him because I'm a fan of Philip K. Dick, the science fiction author, and his work spawned things like Blade Runner and other incredible stories and films and such out of his short stories and novels. And he wrote a book about Philip called The Man Who Remembered the Future. And Philip K. Dick had these weird experiences throughout his life where, like, for one for example, he was laying in bed sleeping next to his wife. And he wakes up in the middle of the night. And there's a figure standing at the foot of his bed. Now, the first thing you're thinking is like, okay, alien abduction. Nope, not at all. It happens multiple times. And finally, he hits a point in his life where he realizes that the person that was standing at the foot of his bed was an older version of himself. And there were things that he had written in some of his books that eventually ended up coming true in his own real life. Like, there was, in one of his stories, he writes about a character going on a date, and they walk into a diner, and the woman sees a man in the diner and gets very sheltered and gets embarrassed, and the man goes, well, what's the matter? And she's like, that man over there is my boyfriend. Now, obviously an embarrassing situation for anybody to be in. Well, one day, Philip K. Dick takes a woman out to a date. He walks into a diner. They sit down. The woman starts acting strange, and he's like, what's the matter? She points to a man and says, that's my boyfriend. And Anthony Peake brings up this idea, and there is some interesting quantum physics and math and science that backs up this potentiality, that there is an effect on the now or the past by events in the future. It's mind bending. It makes you look at time very differently. Obviously, we look at time in our daily lives as being linear. We wake up, we know night is coming when the sun sets. It's all very much based around the movement of the earth around the sun. But there's this idea that future events, in some way, on the quantum, in some physical fashion, they have the ability to affect things in the past. It's so weird to wrap your mind around. But it's like this other being that Philip was seeing that was himself, an older version of himself. Anthony calls it the daemon, and it's this higher self that you have that sometimes will pop in and try to guide you or give you advice and such. It's almost like this superimposed version of your subconscious that has the ability to interact with you, but it can enter reality at will. And it's just that's why when we're talking about things like synchronicities and how we're on a path and it feels like the universe laid something out for us, there's this very strange mechanism that's going on behind the scenes that we have yet to grasp. And there's been so many people with these types of experiences.
What you're talking about, what they talk about with the Tic Tac incident, and what I talk about with, like, actually, whenever Observer was talking about how it was waiting for us at 3:30 in the morning, like it knew, that happens all the time with my experience. Well, what explains that to me is one of two things. More than likely, it's interdimensional and it's a higher dimensional being. So it's essentially it can see all things at once. And when I say that, it can not only do that, it's like a DVD. It can choose those moments to interact with. So it sees it all at once and chooses those moments. Because it's either that, some sort of wait, what's it? Damn, man. Oh, this is gonna be deep cut, or it's Booster Gold, man. They're like Booster Gold, just popping in and out, just changing, trying to fix shit and fuck. So I highly doubt it. It makes sense to be an interdimensional being that has all these biological AI things, because how would it interact with us? It needs it. It makes sense to me. Science, what it wants to learn from us, its curiosity, and this is the shit that I like. And the reason I like, and I still haven't even done a space on it, is because that whole Scott Andrews book that they're talking about is going to be coming out. Was it Star Kids or Space Star Kids and Uri Geller, all these other things? There are little nippets here and there that are legit, and it's part of the MK Ultra program. We use kids to communicate with something, and that something is what I'll call them this: the tall whites, or whatever they saw in the version of the Cosrev mirrors, because those mirrors allowed us access, and we have our own version. So our kids we had kids that were communicating with them, but on top of that, they had psi abilities. And then when they left, even though MK Ultra has programs that Lear talks about, and then you have freaking god damn it, I'll think about it and say Area 51. They talk about MK Ultra type brainwashing, make it go away. Like, I think it was Area 51. I had a brain fart right now. Anyway, he was another one. He went to the base last couple days. He couldn't remember shit. And they do have programs that can do that stuff. So we have kids that can communicate with NHI. And when they leave, not all of them are wiped, right? Maybe they take these things. And I think we talked about this earlier, the consciousness connection, why it's important that they keep it away from us. What if it's that easy? You get good at this, like you get good at martial arts or anything, and you can do extraordinary fucking things, which Buddhism and monks and shit kind of show us in a way. So it could be, I mean, shit. They talk about remote viewing. Remote viewing may be the tip of the iceberg. Imagine being if the time travel, which I think these programs kind of, if you think of time the same way, if consciousness is it and it's all happening at once, you could easily time travel, because they talk about, there's papers out there. PTSD is literally time travel, because those moments go by so slow, you take in more detail. But when you're having a good time, flying, right? Same thing. It's all perception. And we just are designed to go one direction. Shout out to One Direction.
Yo, Tom, what you were saying reminds me too of what Dean Radin studied with something called presentiment, which is where you would get a measurement through your body before you receive the actual information. So he would show like pictures to people and take body measurements, and before like an emotionally stimulating picture, there would actually be a reading before they would see the picture. So it's like kind of like the future affecting the past. And also, a lot of people talk about this when they talk about like precognition of Russell Targ talks about this story, and he specifically, the book called Third Eye Spies that I read recently goes into like the future affecting the past and just that concept. But he talks about when somebody was about to take a flight and they had a dream that the flight, like they woke up in the plane and it was like crashed and everybody was like, you know, like it had just happened, and he woke up and he had a flight like a couple days later. And he was explaining that like he's had hundreds of flights, but he's never had that specific dream before. So he didn't take the flight, right? And the plane did end up crashing. Like, so it was like,
my God.
so like that. So the information, he felt like he didn't. And so then he asked the question of like, were you there? Like, were you there? And then that information relayed, or and what he kind of got to the gist of is like, you are able to kind of get information for tomorrow or the next day, or like there's only a so many situations that you're going to run into, basically possibilities, and that if you're able to kind of tap into a possibility to see it, and it's emotionally, like there's an emotional connection there to what is happening, that you're receiving that information and then you take into, so that's the future, possible future that's affecting the past, so then you have made a decision based off of the information that you get from the future. So that, you know, I don't think that like people are like time traveling. I it's so hard for me to wrap around the future humans theory, because I just can't get on the train of time travel, like physical time travel, but I can get on the precognitive information, lucid dreaming thing. But that's one of the interesting things that Russell Targ talks about.
That's what
Or
I
you
think
could
it is,
take
though.
this into consideration. It's non-local consciousness. It's like you don't. It's not physical time travel. It's mental time travel. It's the idea that you're receiving consciousness from a field that exists outside of three-dimensional reality, and as I like to call it, I'm going to be doing a video about this not too long from now. I call it the snow globe, and it's we're all in the snow globe. Our bodies are here, right? But there's this field of information and energy and such, whatever you'd like to call it, that exists outside of the snow globe. Now, we can only see what we can see inside of the snow globe. Yet that field, being outside of it, it has the full 360-degree view. It can see all angles, all things, all times, all at once. And if information is being transmitted to us from that, it's like a higher dimension. We'll call it four-dimensional, right? Just to keep things simple. Then there is no reason why we wouldn't be able to do things like that, like predict the future, because it's non-local, and if time is non-linear, put those two things together, you could just pick, information from anywhere in time and space.
Well,
You
I,
just have to
dude,
learn how
I
to do
think
it.
about the grays too. Of when a lot of people think about future humans, they talk about the grays. But the closest that I can get is that somehow humanity in the future has found out how to do that, how to transfer their consciousness back through time, and they're
Right.
using the mechanical grays or some sort of technology that they're able to access to influence us through time, through back in time. So they're like in meditation, controlling the grays in a way to influence us in the time now. That's as close as I can get to it.
I see that.
It's
That's right. Bro,
it's
what I think is
wild,
this.
man.
What you were saying
Definitely
about
leaves
the
me with
astral
questions for
travel,
later.
what you were saying about astral travel, that's as close as you can get. I just think what I'm talking about in time travel, Project Pegasus, all those, it's that. It's literally an upgraded hyper version of your time traveling exactly like you think with astral travel, but just think you've never been there, bro. Like it's it's with your mind. So if time is perception, it's all happening at once. It's just a matter of knowing how to hack it and understand it. So no, I agree with you, Astral. I just think there are fucking hacks with things like the mirrors or the chair or perhaps some kind of a new upgraded thing that allow you access in a way that like so one of the things I think it's Project Pegasus is what's his name? Andrew, I'm not going to butcher his last name. It's beginning with a B, right? He talks about being one of those the children being tasked with that. He shows a photo from I think it was one of Lincoln's speeches that he says it's him in it when he was there, right? Because you're able to, if time is all in our head and you're able to change it, you can also manifest things. So that's why ley lines, all that shit's real. They can't prove any of that wrong. Just no science wants to go there, just like UFOs.
That's why I love time travel movies and shows, dude. Like I just watched Dark a couple months ago, and it
Oh,
completely
dude,
changed my
it's
perspective on time. Yeah.
such a good show.
You know
It's
what sucks,
so
man?
underrated.
So many people tell me, dude, you got to see this. You got to watch this. I sit down to do that. The only thing I can ever get myself to watch is UFO witness testimony or like a UAP. I'm not even fucking around. And it sucks because when your brain's spinning all the time, I'm like, okay, let me turn this off. So then it's like rocks, but that doesn't even do it. And then I'm right back to the UFOs, just kind of spinning it, right? No TV, nothing like that. But there is a couple things like Foundation, things that are really heavy and sci-fi type things. I enjoy those. That's about it, man. So I wish I was able to. I never even seen Dark, so I don't know the premise of it. Can you explain it to me, Astral? Give me a too long
It's
didn't read.
super worth watching. It's like
All right, then don't
the
explain it to me. I'll
German
try to watch
Stranger
it.
Things.
I'll try to watch that shit. Oh, speaking of Stranger Things, is that
Well, I
based on
think you'd
some
like
kind of
it.
a reality?
That's what I'm saying. Is that there's like some hints of esoteric ideas inside of this show, but it feels like a blend of a couple different things. It's like imagine if Stranger Things and Back to the Future like had a baby without all the comedy involved, I guess, and then it grew up in Germany
Yeah,
and
that
became a
description
show.
lost me. I have
But it's
no
the
idea what
but
it.
it's a totally, to me, it was a unique way to look at how time travel works. So
Exactly.
it's not like Back to the Future.
Trying
It's
not to
like,
give away too
yeah,
much here.
yeah, no, but it's like that's why I liked it so much, because there's only, I think, probably, I don't know, like handful of different ways that people have kind of explained it, how it works. So when there's a time
Right.
travel movie, I'm always like, all right, where's the scientists that are going to figure it out and then try to explain it? And then on this one, it was just how it played out. And there was sort of like a scientist, or really, the really smart guy who was building the shit. But
Right.
it was just very well explained on how it was working. But
The
while you're
acting was
watching it, it's
so good.
confusing, but it's good.
Yeah, you have to pay. It's one of those shows where you definitely have to pay attention. It's just that like it's got a Stranger Things vibe to it. But it's a really interesting way to tell a story through time. And you'll figure out why when you watch it. And the way the show starts, things are so mysterious, like you don't even really understand what's happening until like you're several episodes in, and even then you're still asking questions. And I will say this, I really liked the ending. So you have that to look forward to as well. Also, I just wanted to say it's 9:50 right now, and I'm going to have to hop out of here in 10 minutes. I just wanted to put that out there.
Right on, actually. Well, you know what? We'll wrap this up in 10 minutes then, actually. So that makes perfect sense.
Same.
It's been a minute since I've done a space, and I've actually, shit, no joke. I do this every time, and I think I say this every time. Is Emily in here? She's always in here when I say it. Like, I feel
We
like
missed
shit.
you, man.
So I withdraw, and then I feel like more shit, and then I withdraw, and then I'm like, all right, let me do a space. So I had some good news
Shane, I
today,
hope
and
you
then
know, man. You have my number. Like, if you ever,
I
I don't
know,
care what
and I
time it
got your
is, man.
message, by the way, brother. I need to reply back to you as well. I was just kind of
All good.
so
All good.
when everything's hitting you at once, I turn my phone off. It's just I don't know, man. Because for me, what sucks is this. Like, I think twice, either was it 2 times? Yeah, twice during the time I was away, didn't bother recording it. I had 2 experiences that were fucking. I think I talked about one with you guys, maybe in the thread, but not in the thread in our DM, but entirely different. Another one that was just like, all right, what's it? Didn't bother recording it. So I went one way, came back the other way, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck am I seeing right now? And I was kind of done with it at that moment because, again, all of my shit is kind of a much, life and that included. So I kind of like, fuck you. I literally said, this is what I said. I'm not even fucking around. So orb starts up, goes flying by the sky, just doing its normal bullshit. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I said to this shit, I said, fuck you, dude. Unless you're going to do something different, I don't want to see shit. And then I see it coming back the other direction. It goes behind a cloud and it does some fucking different shit. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I wish I had my camera. So this time, what I assumed was an orb was going, as it's going across the sky, bright as fuck. I'm like, all right, what the fuck's this? drone, whatever looking place. It's not a plane, none of that shit, right? No sound, none of that stuff. Then it goes behind a cloud, and then I see a second light. When it comes out of the cloud, the orb's still there, but at a distance from the first light is another light, bright orange, like a flame. Looks like a flame. Keeps the same distance. They travel together, and they just keep going and blinks. And it's not like a blinking light you normally see. It looks like a fucking flame, but it's blinking. So, yeah, and I'm looking at it like, oh, okay, what the fuck's going on here? And I just kind of watch it for a second. I'm like, wait. But then again, it could be, humans fucking with me. That's my reality. Is like, now granted, what kind of humans would spend? They'd have to have $100,000 drones and some crazy shit, like putting kind of time and effort into traveling with me. See, that's how crazy I sound because my life bounces back. Wait, is this real? It's got to be humans, and that sounds even fucking nuttier. So it's like, wait, what's going on? I'm constantly fucking with myself by going back and forth. I should just admit to myself, okay, I know it's disclosed, so that's what you're seeing. But because of the harassment, I'm bouncing back and forth all the time. Like, wait, is that humans? But no, it answered me, so I'm pretty sure. I don't know what the fuck was going on. It was weird, and I was done with it. But then I'm like, fuck. Now I'm not done with it. I need to figure out what's going on, and it pulls me back in every time.
Can I ask Astral a quick question before he leaves, before he shut down?
Yeah, ask Astral. Astral, go ahead. I mean,
okay.
Observe. Go ahead, ask Astral.
I want to, because he's into like remote viewing, and I appreciate the envelope and picture things. But I've always, I can watch shows on TV like where they're like murder mysteries and stuff like that, and I always seem to know who the killer is, and I've always tied that to analytical skills. But I'm starting to go that maybe it's something else, and I'll give you an example. I've had like thoughts come to me, and I talked to Shane about this. It's just like something comes to me and it's profound, and I really don't think it's coming from me, but it's coming to me. And what I wanted to share with you guys is yesterday when I was out golfing. Never done this before, but my buddy lost his golf ball, and we were over there, and this thought or this impression came to me that I was going to find a specific golf ball, a Titleist one Pro V1. It was just really weird, and I almost told my friend Kurt about it, but I decided now I'm going to sound crazy if I don't find one. And so I walk out there, and I only have about a minute, because he found his golf ball, and all of a sudden, under a leaf, I see this little white object, and when I pull the leaf away, it's a golf ball, and when I turn it, it says Titleist on it. And so then I have to rotate it again, and it's a Pro V1. And it was the only golf ball other than my buddy's that was out there. And it was just weird. It was weird, but kind of cool at the same time. And so.
Have you tried his spaces? Have you tried doing one of the RV targets?
I think we lost him for a second.
Oh, we can't hear you again, buddy.
But yeah, no, that's actually a really cool story. My question, I guess, would have been, or if you're still there too, did you have the intention to try and find the golf ball? It sounds like you had it was almost like clairvoyance, that the information came to you and then you found the golf ball after that. But yeah, that's very similar to a lot of the people when they describe remote viewing. What's taking place is basically they're getting like a flash of information and something really quick, and then they have to distinguish what is the information and kind of remember it. So it's kind of like a dream almost, where you once you wake up from the dream, you can remember it pretty vividly, and then it kind of fades out, so it's tougher. But yeah, that's a really interesting story, dude. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, that was actually really interesting. I love hearing about stuff like that.
Well, some people do it with keys. I've heard that with keys. Like people are like, all right, I can't find my keys. Let me just.
I've done that. That's definitely happened more than once. Can confirm.
Well, like I said, it was just weird to me because I always thought, because I'm very analytical, and so I just kind of thought that it was maybe just me assessing things, but I'm coming to the point now where it feels like it's something else.
No, and it's like the information from the golf ball, I think, was important too. like not only did you found a golf ball, I mean everybody's found golf balls, but I think like you naming it the Titleist V1, that was an important kind of connection and information that you got that made it really synchronistic, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's what I was just wanting to run it by somebody because it's kind of fresh in my mind, and I was like, it just.
Well, since you brought it up though, Observer, you should attend a space of his. Give it an attempt. Maybe you're a natural at that shit.
I don't know.
The next Joe McMonagle.
I'm just trying to figure it out. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, see, that's the thing. Most people probably confuse this stuff with hunches, an innate ability to be like, oh, I'm lucky, right, Astral? Some kind of thing like that. They maybe develop it.
I'll say this. One guy talked about him developing a lucid dreaming technique so good that he had a lucid dream one time where his mother told him to pick lottery numbers. He picked the lottery numbers and won that shit. Like not the actual.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Now, how do I get that?
Because I've lucid dreamed before, successfully, just a couple times. I've had ones that were just kind of random and uncontrollable, but when it happens, it's like forget VR, forget playing video games. Like lucid dreaming is the
So it's
ultimate
about
level.
to me, it's about the intention before you go into the dream when you know that you have the ability to lucid dream. So this guy was going through a financial hardship, and he was like, man, I gotta figure this out. Let me just try lucid dreaming to get something. And so when he went into the lucid dream, he talked with his mother, and his mother gave him like 4 digits or something. And so he was like, maybe I'll just play it in the lottery. And then he won. So it wasn't like his mother was like, play these in the lottery. And, he got this like message and was like, let me decipher this. Maybe it's the lottery numbers. And then he ended up winning that shit.
That's incredible. I love that. I'm happy that he won under those circumstances. It's so great.
All right, guys. So check it out. It's 6:59. Cut a minute short, but check it out. Donate to Wounded Warrior. I'm definitely going to be using them really soon here shortly. I mean, I got to move first, which sucks. I'm going to have to postpone, but still, donate to Wounded Warrior. Retweet the space. Follow all the hosts, co-hosts. Thanks for helping me. I kind of need to play some bullshit, and I'm actually looking forward to being at my new place where I can focus on the stuff that I like and hanging out and talking UFOs and shit instead of this fucking shit show that I've been, I guess. Thank you for the trauma. I mean, helping get their attention, I should say, but whatever. So thank you guys. Retweet the space. People have us, right? They want to talk about the subject. We do it all the time. So thanks, guys. Wait, Astral, Tom, go ahead. I didn't want to. You guys got something to say?
Yeah, I'll just say real quick. Always a pleasure to be here. Happy to have you back, Shane. I'm happy to be back from vacation. Obviously, I'm back at work working on my next long form video and some other stuff. Obviously, me and Digby Furno have some really interesting stuff that he and I have decided to partner on. I've got some interviews coming up that I think all of you are going to enjoy, and I'm just really blessed and thankful to be here with good friends and good company. And I hope you all have a happy, healthy, safe night, and looking forward to whatever comes next in this whole movement. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, dude. Great space, man. Great discussion. You already know I'm doing the envelope spaces. I got week number 49. I think I'm going to do something special for number 50. I think I'm giving away like maybe $50 or something for the person who gets it, or like a book or something. But pretty crazy that it's been 50 weeks of doing the remote viewing. So if you want to try it out, come check out my feed. I'll post the envelope probably here tomorrow. But yeah, thanks, Shane. This has been great, dude.
These spaces are awesome. Thank you guys for being here. And make sure you check out actually both their spaces, their podcast, YouTube channel. Man, my favorite people in these rooms because we get to talk about this topic and there's no bullshit, right? So thank you guys for being here. Retweet and donate to Wounded Warrior. And pray to your alien gods because they're praying to you right now.